All right, salute to y'all tuning in for another episode of The Art of Interception, where we say what needs to be said. I got another special guest, Ronnie Brown. My boy Ronnie Brown, he got one of the most intriguing stories to making it to the NFL. I mean, like one you never heard of. Like, he might be the only one with these stories, man. Y'all welcome, man. Welcome, Ronnie Brown.
Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So, starting off, man, just get to know you a little bit. You know, you played running back for, how many years? About 7, 8, 9?
10.
10 years. A couple of teams, the Dolphins.
The Eagles, the Chargers, and I did a little stint with the Texans for a minute.
Okay. So I want to explain to everybody, right? So Ronnie went to the University of Auburn, where they had another big 5-star running back. And Ronnie was never, quote unquote, the starting running back.
Right.
Am I correct?
Right, that's right.
So did you go all 3 years? 4 years? Or you went?
I stayed 5, so I redshirted my first year. So my first year at Auburn, I came in out of high school, but they also got Rudy Johnson out of JUCO. And so then he led the SEC in rushing that year. So I redshirted that year, and then the next year, Cadillac came in. Then the year after Cadillac came in, then Brandon Jacobs came in with us. And so, that was our backfield.
That's our backfield.
Like, hey, man.
How you get caught up in some mess like that?
Right. And so, we had the transfer portal. Boy, I might would have been one of them back then. But now, I ended up figuring it out, how to stick it out.
Yeah.
And we just made each other better, you know. And so, ended up staying. And, bro, like you said, I was never really considered the starting running back. Just luckily, my senior year, we had Al Borges, who was a new offensive coordinator, came from the West Coast offense. He figured out how to put me in, let me catch passes out of the backfield. I played a little bit of fullback. So I got a chance to show a little bit of versatility. So that was, that was pretty cool.
So he was able to, a new officer coordinator was able to come in and find everybody's strengths and use them to their best of their ability.
Yeah, he gave me a shot, man, because before that, I was riding the pine, and unfortunately, Lack got hurt a couple seasons. My sophomore year, he got hurt. I think he broke his collarbone or his ankle that year. And Florida was my first game playing. So I came in, I jumped that thing. And then, got a little notoriety, but then he got healthy, came back the next year. I'm back on the bench. And so, when Al came in, he was like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm coming from the West Coast. I want to figure out how to get both of you guys in at the same time. And I took that and ran with it.
Oh, so that was his plan. Get both of y'all in at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that helped me out a lot too, because I had got a draft grade like 3rd round my junior year. Then when I stayed for my senior year, I mean, man, I ended up going, 2nd pick.
Right.
And I think it was because I got a chance to show the versatility, catching the ball out of the backfield. I got to run some wheel routes, running some routes out of the backfield, playing fullback and showing some different things. And I was, 235 at the time. So I think it was a little different.
Yeah, so that's why we say, that's why I'm telling y'all this is like one of the most unheard stories in the NFL history, period. Like I said, he was basically behind Cadillac Williams. Cadillac started pretty much while he was there. And the other people, the Brandon Jacobs, the Rudy Johnsons was there first, like he said. But what pick did Cadillac end up becoming?
He went 5th.
Fifth.
I went 2nd. He went 5th.
So you hear that? This man was the 2nd pick of the NFL draft and never started at running back in college. You hear me? Never started in college, but end up being the 2nd pick of the draft. That's 1 pick away from being the number 1. And the person that started in college ended up being the 5th pick.
5th pick.
So how does that work? How do you time everything up and make it fit? Like you say, his junior year, your grade was a 3rd round grade, and then you just, man, how were you able to achieve such greatness when opportunities were limited?
Yeah, I think for me it was iron sharpens iron, and 2 is just commitment. How I grew up. I grew up like most guys, challenged environment. Both parents had, they struggles or whatever. My older brother, even now, in prison in Miami. And so growing up in that environment, you learn how to, like what it means to be in the struggle. And so that was nothing different. I was comfortable in that situation. And so man, going through that, iron sharper iron. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, man, listen, like, I'm going to show you, like, I need to be playing. So any opportunity I get, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to try to do, what I do. And so going through that and going through those challenges and struggles, it made me better. But also, it allowed me the opportunity. I'm like, hey, man, listen, I can play fullback. I can play, I can get out there. I catch the ball out the backfield. And so,
I can throw it with my left hand.
right, third down, like, I come out of there, I'm going to block the A gap. So anything, like, and so being able to do all of that, I think that's where they saw the value, especially at my size. And then I went to the combine, unofficially ran a 4.38 at 233 pounds. And so, I think just seeing that in the film and the competition that we had that year, I was like, okay, it worked out.
So I'm going to go off subject a little bit because you mentioned something, right? And you say you think your environment made you hungry and stuff like that, right? So I like to say that too. I try to tell everybody the difference in Florida, why Florida have a lot of athletes compared to other states is, the environment. But we all have the same environments. So with that being said, now we have kids, we're grooming kids and raising kids, but they're not going through that environment.
Yeah.
They're not going through that struggle. So what is the difficulties of that you face raising kids in the suburb compared to how you had to grow up?
It's a challenge, man, because I tell people, man, like between, being born in high school, I had, 6 different addresses. And, a lot of times in our community, that's normal. Like, hey, man, I moved around 6, 7 times.
Yeah.
And so, that's not something that my kids had to deal with per se. And so, for me, it was just like at 6 years old, I told my mom, listen, man, my goal is to buy you a house. And so always remembering that and growing up. And so that was a part of the grind. Like, I need to figure out how to create some kind of structure around this environment. And so the motivation when it got hard going through, sitting behind Rudy, sitting behind Cadillac, and not getting a chance to play and do what I felt was the opportunity that was going to get us out of the, the hood or whatever. Like, the hood's the hood wherever you go. I think out of that environment, the best opportunity for me was through the football route.
Right.
And so, there were certain things that had to stick out. And so when you talk about our kids, they not growing up with those same challenges or maybe not even the same motivations. And so now it's trying to instill in them, hey, man, like, what's going to force you to do your best? You know what I mean? Because it ain't getting daddy out the, out of the situation or, you know what I'm saying? Because we already good. So now it's just taking pride in what you do and trying to instill the values that, pretty much parallels football. Like, and I think through sport, like, we learn a lot of life's values through sport, and then just kind of looking at that and teaching them those things, and then try to build on the athletic ability of, okay, I mean, you already got a shot, you got something that can't coach, the DNA, like, that's already in you. So now I just got to teach you, like, hey, man, even though you don't need this set in terms of the environment, but you still got to be a dog in your own right.
Right. So making them basically just be the best that they possibly can be.
Right.
Not comparing them to anybody else. Just you go do you and be the best you can be, because we professional athletes, we done seen the highest of everybody. So we know how to see. We see talent. We see what you got in you, what you're able to do. So we expect that of you, and we're not expecting you to be like we did in the hood and, taking chances and this and that. So, that was a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. And the pressures, I mean, it's different. I think something that people don't talk about is the pressure of, like, being the first one in the family. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, when you left school, you went to Central Florida, like, they already had tabbed you as, oh, he gonna make it.
Right.
Then you get in your mind like, hey, man, I got to take care of everybody when I make it. You know what I mean? So the pressure of that, and then you go to school with that, and if it ain't shaking out the way you thought, that's hard to deal with. Because how you come back to
like
the
a
crib.
failure,
Yeah, like how you come back, even though if you're the first person in the family to go to college, but then you don't make it to the league, and that was your goal to try to take care of everybody. That's a lot of pressure in that. Like, for the most part, you first generation, like, when you go to school, that's already something that surpasses the majority of people you're around.
Right.
But trying to deal with that environment of, if I don't make it, and that challenge, it gets so many cats. Like, that's what happens when you lead a league. Like, once you out of it, it's like, hey, man, if you don't make it, like, man, what else do I do? What else am I good at? Because this is what I've always chased. So,
right.
Trying to understand that and put it in perspective in terms of where you come from and what is success. What does that really look like?
So you said, like you said, going back, you said iron sharper iron. It's you and Cadillac and Rudy, whoever else, but mainly it was just you and Cadillac, towards y'all. Was y'all the same grade?
Yeah, I was a year ahead of him. I came in
but
the
he
year
came
before.
out.
And we came out together because I
together.
redshirted that one year.
So what was it like, man? What was the relationship like with y'all being there together? Being that maybe he seen you coming up on him, you know what I mean, about to take his spot where he was always a starter. Now it's just like, hey man, this guy's getting my carries. He's getting part of my carries. You know, how did y'all maintain a relationship, or what was the relationship like?
Yeah, it was always cool, man. We always had a respect for each other because I think first and foremost, we came from similar backgrounds too,
Right.
and we were roommates when we traveled.
Oh,
And so we chop it up. We talk about life. And so, coming from, he from a small town in Alabama. I'm from a small town in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
He got a lot of brothers and sisters. He got family he take care of. My motivation was to take care of my family. And so we bonded over that, those commonalities. And then from a football perspective, that's just competition. It's like growing up in the neighborhood, especially when you around everybody playing throw it up, get tackled, and then you got to go hoop with everybody. Even if you ain't good, you got to get in, and so you got to do everything with everybody. And so we just started talking about that. And then, from a competitive standpoint, like, that's the coaches. It ain't between us. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they responsible
so y'all
for putting
kept
the
that
guys
out
in.
of that. Like, understand? Listen, man, we gonna go out here and work our hardest. I'm gonna be my best. You're gonna be your best. Iron sharp iron. But when it comes to starting, whatever, that's the coaches, man. We ain't finna let this be in between us and our relationship.
Yeah.
Man, that's good, man. Y'all had some good stuff going on.
Yeah, it was
over
cool,
there,
man. I saw his mom, like,
Because everybody I'm competing with, I want to fight you. I want to do everything. I don't care nothing about you. Get the hell from around me. You know what I mean? Listen, I ain't got time to be taking a chance to go back to the hood. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And so, and it was even cool. Like, I talked to his mom a few weeks ago, and I laughed because she come to the game, and the jersey she had on had his number and my number on it. And so, everybody was kind of like, what's up with this? But, me and him, we always kept it that way. We had a respect for each other. He in the game, I'm like, man, jump that thing. You know what I mean?
That's
then
great.
vice versa. Like, he might go in, return kicks. I run the ball. You know what I mean? And so we just had that respect, and it carried over. And then, it's like, hey, bro, like, we're going to challenge each other at practice to make each other better. And it worked out for the both of us.
That's great, man. That's great. You ever heard of a story like that, man, where two running backs on the same team go first round, it's top 10? Do you ever?
Nah, man. It was funny too, because even our relationship, people don't understand. Like, me and Jason Campbell came in together.
Right.
Carlos Rogers and Lack came in together, and so we was all roommates. Jason was my roommate. Carnell and Lack and Carlos were roommates, and so. Even that year, we all got drafted in the first round together, which was different.
Did you have Coach Chiz?
Yeah, he was our D coordinator our last year.
Shout out to my boy Gene Chiswick. Every time your name come, I got to give you a shout out, man.
Yeah, bro, he was our D
That's
coordinator.
the man that gave me all the foundation I need to play cornerback. And if you people don't realize, like, Carlos Rogers was another product of his environment. Another product of
Gene
Chiswick, right? So you could tell people's style, like the way he break on the ball, his leverage and stuff. But he just had a different problem than me. That boy dropped some picks, boy.
Yeah.
That boy be dropping that ball, boy. He break on it, go get it.
I told him, dog. And it was different because in college, when Coach Chiswick was our coach, Los was like that. Like, he won the Thorpe Award
I'm saying he
under
like
Chiswick.
that.
But then in the league,
he was just dropping it. It ain't like he was.
I told him he got
playing
soft.
raw.
Like, he got safe in the league. Like,
safe.
he was gonna D him up, but he wasn't gonna take that shit.
He
Like,
wasn't
Son
safe.
going for the ball. Like, everybody already know. Like, Son going for the ball.
right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? And so, but Los, like, what he was able to do on the Chiswick, bro. Like, and he aggressive. Like, came up.
Yeah,
So
Chiswick. Shout out to Coach Chiswick, man. Coach Chiswick, man. He raised some dogs, man. You could tell. I don't know, man. You get a little older, man, so you might be a little softer than you used to be. So, each year at a time, get a little softer, a little softer, a little softer. So y'all better hurry up and get to him while he got a little bit of muscle in him still. So you drafted to the Dolphins. You coming from a little country town in Georgia, and you come into the big city, the magic city, party time. Women everywhere, chicks everywhere, skin showing the beach. How did that work for you? How did you deal with that, man?
Man, I tell you, Miami like a different country. You talking about different, man, that's like a different country, especially coming from, like a small town. It's about 21,000 people in Cartersville, where I'm from. And so to get to Miami, it's everybody. You know what I mean? And so just going through that, man, at the time, the pressure of like, man, one, I just got drafted the 2nd overall pick.
Right.
I don't even know what that means. So that ain't even
everybody looking at you. They know you won't even know. Like, they like, yeah, that's the 2nd round pick, the 2nd pick.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, okay, so.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure that out, and I'm like, from where I'm like, I just want a ball. Like,
Right.
that's it. But then the pressure, all right, second pick, then the business side of the NFL. It's like, how do I get used to this? Like, this is something I ain't never dealt with. You know what I mean? From, agents to advisors, the whole thing. And my parents, like, they couldn't help me with that process.
Right.
It was just a personality assessment. But when it come down to it, they couldn't evaluate and tell me, all right, this is what we need to be asking. These are the questions. And so you don't know what you don't know. And so for me, it was just from that small town. I don't trust a lot of people already.
Right.
And so I'm like, man, I'm just going to fall back, And so until I started getting comfortable in that environment, I go out every now and then, but more times than not, I had my cousin with me who, moved down there. And so just trying to get comfortable and trying to create some sense of normalcy in that environment.
In that crazy environment.
Yeah, because it's like you said, there's women everywhere. Everybody got nice cars. You got foreigns. You got all this stuff.
The beach.
It's always something to do. Always somewhere to go. We didn't go out to. Yeah, you didn't leave to go out to the club to 2:00 in the morning. So trying to balance all of that, and I need to be good at football. And so, a lot of stuff I just kind of sit back and try to watch and soak it in, and just try to figure it out. Because I ain't have a advisor or a mentor or somebody that could tell me what this was going to be like.
Right.
And so you kind of pretty much got to figure everything out on your own, and it's on the fly too.
And
like,
it's
hey
on the
man,
fly.
like, the people
And they
inside
replace you if you don't figure it
that,
out.
the people inside that building don't care what's going on outside this building. Like, I need you to do what we paid you to do. And so just trying to figure all that stuff out, man. I kind of try to take it slow. And, I think that's what helped me being from a small town. Is just kind of, all right, man, I'm going to keep the main thing.
It seemed like you handled it pretty well, though, man. Just, from you conversing about it and stuff like that, it didn't get to you that much, huh?
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it, but I tried to keep it in perspective. You know what I mean?
You knew the most important thing is be good in football.
Right. And so, I think even in my office now, I got a sign that I always say, remember the mission. You know what I mean?
Go.
And so, like I said, when I started
steal
out.
that from you.
Yeah, no, I stole it from somebody too. It's just like, at 6, when I set out, like, hey man, I want to buy my mom a house. I want to take care, my family and change the family tree.
Yeah.
And so keeping that in perspective and saying, all right, this the goal, this is what I need to do. So, at times, I went out, did certain things, and it's like everybody else. When you look back, it's like, I may not change anything, but there's some situations that I probably would have done differently had I known,
Right.
But those experiences still made me who I am. So I still would have gone through them. I just maybe did some of it a little bit different. And, it worked out. Luckily, that foundation and having that structure and being around the right people, it helped me out a lot.
It's funny. What they say in life, you got 9 personalities or 16 personalities throughout the whole life. As I'm talking to you, it's starting to seem like me and you might have that one personality, like out of the 16 that's think the same, act the same. Because, as we talking off camera, on camera, it's like our similarities are damn near 100% on point. So what I'm saying is, man, I'm probably, first of all, let me go with the moving. We move every 6 months.
Right.
So that's how I'm popular in my city, my hood. I've been in every hood. I lived everywhere.
Right.
Every 6 months, I got tired of helping my mama move. When you can't pay the bills, guess what? I'm getting missing because I'm tired of this move. You need to learn how to pay the bills. That's the kind of, like you say, trying to build their structure. Why you don't got no money on your payday? Like, you just got paid, you don't have no money.
Right.
This ain't making no sense. The other thing was my mom. Man, I think I was 10, 11 years old. I never forget this place called Plantation Acres.
Right.
So you go from the hood, your mama take you out to this experience, and now you see all these nice houses. They all got acres. And my mama's, I don't remember exactly how I went, but it probably, I think it was, I told her I'm going to get her one of these days, or she told me I would love to have one of these days, and I'm going to get it for you. And I never forgot that. Like, you know what I mean? That's you say. That's the chip we have on our shoulders, the motivation to keep us going because, we want these great things in life and these finer things, and we come from pretty much nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
and it's,
cool.
it's big too. Like, not to say that it's right or wrong, but that's all you know, right?
Right.
Like,
That's all you know.
I want to change this environment, and I had the same experience. For me, I had my godparents that came in, and I go down and my little godbrother get his haircut down here in Buckhead, and I'm a little kid, but we ride down Waste Places Ferry. That's where the governor's mansion is here in Atlanta. And so you see them big old houses. I'm like, man, coming from where I ain't never seen it. Like, I first trailer to apartment to, little houses. And so to see that, I'm like, God, it'd be cool to be able to live in something like that. Yeah. What I mean? And so, I always kept that in the back of my mind. Like, what would this look like? And so when I bought my mom that house in 2005, that was the best feeling in the world.
Oh, man. I did mine on Mother's Day, man. I told her I bought her a house. It was about like 6,000, 7,000 square feet. Most of our moms, and back in the day, they hoarders. They like to pile up a lot of stuff. So I told my mama on Mother's Day, we're going out to eat to my friend's house. A couple of NFL players. We're going to have a family dinner and just chill out. So I told her the surprise, right? So she pulls up. She riding through the neighborhood. She's so naive. She looking around like, these are some beautiful houses in here. Your friends got some nice houses in here. So now we pulling up to dinner, and then she see all my friends, not even football players, and she's just like, this is a nice house. Gosh, like, who house is this? So she get out the car, and I'm like, this all on Mother's Day.
Right.
She get out the car, and I'm like, this your house, Mom. Here you go. Happy Mother's Day. It's like for 2 hours, she couldn't understand what I was telling her. Like, she couldn't believe it. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Because just think about it, you know what I mean? And then here goes the tricky part. So she had a little condo in the hood. So I tell her, listen, I bought everything. I had towels, cups, toothpaste. I don't want you to bring nothing.
Right.
You can't bring nothing. Man, she went home. Only thing you're supposed to bring is your clothes. So she went home, man. I'm talking about she had an aviator. The thing was piled up in the back. The top, like, Mama, I said, you got everything. So she couldn't help herself, man. But like you say, man, one of the greatest feelings in the entire world, man.
Yeah, man, ain't nothing like it. And I tell people, even to this day, by being the backup running back, like, I got invited to the draft in New York. I ain't want to go. Because I'm like, man, I'm not even a starting running back. Like, why?
That could mess with your ego,
and
right?
So, and the only reason I ended up deciding to go was because, like, my parents never been to New York. It was an opportunity for me to take them out there for a week. So I'm like, it don't even matter how this unfold. Like, for me to get them to see that experience, it's a win. And so it was cool. So I just, we hung out for a week. My mom, unfortunately, being who she is, she cussed the crab driver out a couple times. You know how they drive in New York. She wasn't feeling that, but
she in the country. She used to taking your time and chilling.
But it was a good experience, man, and that was a win. And then to put on top of it, I got drafted, second. Like, I wouldn't change that for the world.
Blessed and humble, brother. Seems like you got a good parents around you, good people to show you love. You might not, like you say, show you everything you need, but the main thing is the love.
Right.
You need.
Right.
I
got what I need. Right.
You got what you need. Yeah. So you get drafted to the Dolphins. Who's the coach?
Nick Saban.
Nick the Saban.
Yep.
Not the Bill Belichick protege. Obviously, that didn't work out. Who's the quarterback?
At the time, we had Sage Rosenfeld.
So you didn't get caught up in that Dante Culpepper?
Yeah, that's my dog Pep. So, bro, and I tell people even now, like, bro, like, it was tough. Because, I look at my career and I look back. People say, man, you had a good career. And I'm like, because I felt like I could have done so much more. But in my 6 years with Miami, I think I had 10 quarterbacks. We had 3 head coaches. We had 2 GMs. And we had 2 owners. Like, it.
Out to the owners.
Right.
That's not a recipe
everything.
For
success. So, I'm like, and it's in Miami, too. Like, so, you add all of that together. It's difficult. Not making excuses, but the reality of it is, without any stability, especially at the quarterback position, it's hard. And as a running back, me and Ricky, like, we couldn't change the whole thing. Like, even if we wanted to, like, you running 8-man boxes, like, it ain't too much you can do.
You can do. Somebody got to be able to throw that ball.
Right. And so, having that situation, and even, with me, that's how the Wildcat came out. Like, bro, I end up having to play quarterback.
Right, that's right.
And I ain't never played quarterback ever in my life.
That's right. Y'all started
I never played quarterback.
Card. And that gave us problems because, obviously he played for the Dolphins. I played for New England. So we pay him 2 times a year. That's right. Y'all started the Wildcat because
that's how. And we started in New England.
Right. That's what I mean.
We were 0-2.
Because I remember the play is like, wait, who was that at the quarterback. Oh, that's the running back. They fake. Oh, this is some new stuff. And that's when they started the Wildcat.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And
That's
so
crazy.
going through that, man, it was like, we 0-2 going to New England. Nobody gave us a chance anyway. Like, man, y'all ain't finna go beat New England. And it was just backs against the wall. Like, we need to pull out all stops. And so it ended up working out. But, it was fun. It was a good
It was
experience.
different, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the Wildcat was hard to stop when it first came
Yeah,
out. So,
it was fun while it lasted. But, I wasn't no quarterback. I ain't never played quarterback ever. You know what I mean?
quarter running back.
Yeah. So it's cool to see how it evolved. Because, I think Vic really started that. And there's some old school quarterbacks.
But they didn't call it the
Young.
Wildcats. Because the Wildcat is what it is. It's somebody that don't
The
play
running back,
quarterback.
yeah.
And you put them back there.
Yeah, so to see it even now, like you see it every now and then they put a cat, Saquon Barkley, somebody back there and let them, it's kind of cool to know that we was a part of, introducing that to the NFL.
Introducing it. Y'all pioneered that thing, man.
Yeah, so it was cool. It was cool. And it was my partner. Like Ricky, that's my guy.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Rick, because in college, I watched Rick. When he was at Texas. Like, I'm like, man, this, you know what I'm saying? And so to be in the locker room, in the meeting room with this cat, we chop it up, we talk life. He taught me a lot too, just about the game, like his perspective, how he approached the game, how smart he was, like, not taking notes. He just remembered everything. And then the way he worked. Like, man, this man, he get the ball, this last carry, he gonna go whole 100, like, and then he come back. And I'm like, dang, I gotta step it up. If I'm gonna try to it's the same thing, reverting back to college. If I'm gonna get a shot, I gotta match this effort or I gotta exceed it, because this is what he doing every day.
That's what they doing, right. So speaking of Ricky, were you there when I hit Ricky with the hit?
Yeah, I got you. Caught him with he come around the corner, you done hit the little, you caught him.
He tried to run me over though, but the difference was, thank God you didn't have that ball and that wasn't you, because he was back from the rehab and he was on his trees and he stopped that, so he probably was about 10, 20 pounds lighter. And boy, if that would have been you, I probably would have broke all my shoulders because we went head up. Boom!
Yeah,
he went back. I can imagine the jokes that he was getting.
Man, I was like, dang, son, got my guy, bro. Like, he done got my dude. Look, because his feet came off. I'm like, oh, man.
He was down on the ground like this.
And me and Rick, we, because the weigh-ins and all that stuff, man. Like, so me and Rick in the sauna the day before weigh-in, we both 235, 240. They done put our weight down. I'm like, boy, neither one of us 230. Like, so it was cool. Yeah, man.
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you for that hit, brother. Hey, you made me fool a lot of people. People think I could really run through people, man. Knock you out, bro. Appreciate that, man. Hey, Rick was a hell of a player, man. He was a hell of a player, man.
Yeah, great dude, man. One of the best people I ever been around, hands down. Hands down.
Yeah. So as we know, as I come to introduce y'all, you don't know, you gonna know, and you will learn. Our good brother here is a financial advisor. Right. Yeah. What's the name of your company you work with?
Man, just for compliance reasons, I can't say it, but you got to go research it.
Okay, so you got to.
But I'm with one of the big companies. Do a really good job, man. So
so research it. Ronnie Brown, he got his license and everything, right?
Yeah.
So follow all the compliances.
Yeah, gotta follow the compliance. Like, I don't want no problem with nobody.
No problem with nobody at all. You know what I mean? So like you say, the things you did different compared to, what you know now. Old Ronnie talking to the young Ronnie, just got in the league. What are one of the things financially you would have done differently?
For me, it's, man, being involved, like knowing your stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Because when you're in high school, your parents take care of everything for you. You got people, your coaches, they look out for you, whether it's driving you to, your visits and stuff like that.
It's like Disneyland.
Right. Then you get to college, it's like, hey, man, you can play. They're going to find somebody that's going to be able to assist you. Or, you got an advisor, somebody to put you in the right direction. But then you make that transition into the league. Now you're a professional.
Right.
And so they expect you to know all of this stuff, And so I tell you, even when I left school, I had $187 in my Regions checking account. I go to Arizona, train for 3 months. Somebody paid me millions of dollars to do what I love to do. And I'm like, where do I start? Like, this, you know what I'm saying? Like, I come from an environment where, we trying to figure out how to survive. And then now I'm in an opportunity where I can thrive. I don't really know the transition, And so, just trying to educate myself. But I think even now, the thing that I see a lot of guys do wrong is, whether it's business managers or people, we allow people to do business for us, but we not involved. We not in the rooms, in the conversations to at least hear or hold people accountable.
Or try to understand.
And so that's how a lot of, misappropriation of funds or, guys get taken advantage of. And, unfortunately, you don't hear about it until after the fact.
Right.
And sometimes you can get it back, but sometimes you can't. And so, for me, it's just telling guys, hey, man, like if I had to talk to my younger self, it's make sure you understand all the decisions made on your behalf, in the conversations, because you are the, what I'm saying? A lot of times, because we don't know, we feel like we working for them to some degree.
Yeah, exactly.
And so understanding.
So you got to change that mindset right off the rip, because it's gonna seem like you working for them because they call and you saying do this and do that, because you don't know what to.
Because you just trying to figure it out, and so when you think about it, like, man, I'm paying these people for services. And so I need to be involved in that. And it's hard, too, because it's, like I said, ain't nobody around you telling you that. And so you just trying to figure it out on the fly. But at the end of the day, you comfortable in that environment where, football, honestly, for a lot of us, that was our escape.
Right.
And so we just want to do that. And we most comfortable in that locker room, whether it's even after practice, whether we're going to play cards, we're going to, whatever. That's our environment where we most comfortable.
Right.
But most guys have challenges outside of that. Like, that's where we get in trouble, depending on, how circles and
remember I say the 9 or 16 different personalities. This was the one thing that we did different, but you grew to it. Like, I started off asking questions.
Right.
I mean, that was when you entered in elementary school and the teacher said no question is a bad question. You asked me a question. I took that to heart all the way to right now to the day.
You ran with it.
I'm going to ask you 1,000 questions until I understand what I need to understand.
Yeah.
So that's what, like, I came into the league, in the league, these financial advisors calling me, like, who are you? My mama go to the bank, cash her check and don't got no money.
Right.
So why I want to deal with you?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's my hood mentality. Yeah. So I'm, they got these people calling me and they calling me. So I'm like, my key questions is, how do white people stay rich?
Right.
And this when they start telling me, bonds, interest on your money, municipal, AAA rated. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving you financial advice.
Right.
AAA rated bonds, stocks. And that's when I was like, oh, and that's when it started piquing my interest. And that's when I started learning of what I want to do and what I should do. But it's at the end of the day, you got to just ask questions. And then when you keep asking questions and you hear something that don't sound right, you're going to understand that. And now you can deal with it how you need to deal with it when you see people bullshitting you or not handling business the right way, man.
Because we come from, environment, like, we may not have the knowledge, but we got the ability to discernment.
Yeah,
like, because you can smell when growing up. It's like,
because we deal with it every day.
And so questions create the opportunity to hold people accountable. Because like, your word is your bond. We all knew that growing up. And so, you start to learn stuff even, when you don't know the information, right and wrong. When somebody trying to get over on you. And so at least asking those questions, having that mindset of, hey, bro, like, I'm at least ask questions so I get a feel for when I know you lying or you ain't keeping it a buck with me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So like you're saying, I don't know, stop if you need to stop. I'm a rookie coming into the league. I'm a second-round pick. I come to you.
Right.
What to do? I know absolutely nothing.
Right.
What's the advice you give me? What do you tell me? I don't know nothing. I want this car. I want this Lamborghini. I want to get my mama a house. I want to do all it.
Right.
Talk to me.
So for me my goal is going through it and seeing it, right, and educating, these young guys. For me it was education. Like when I first got in the league, like you said, you ask questions. I'm a guy. I'm gonna try to sit back. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna watch guys like JT, Junior Seau. Like those guys were kind of the guys that I watched. But then even with that, I'm like, all right, I need to start educating myself. So I was a part of a group. We opened a community bank in South Florida. And so a lot of people didn't even know that. So that was how I started trying to learn the business.
Wow.
And so now when it go to talking and having these conversations, I think from the perspective of being a former athlete, but also what it looked like now that we done. It's easy when you're playing, but having the conversations for long term, it's like, dang, if I'd have knew this back then, I would have, done it a little bit differently. And so, it's having them conversations and trying to meet these guys where they are. It's like, hey man, listen, like, ain't no bad question. You know what I'm saying? And so, even with the idea of, I'm like, man, listen, trust but verify. Anything I tell you, you can trust it, but you got to go back and verify it still. Like, just like you don't know me. And so,
that goes in the category of believe Believe none of what you hear and half of what you see.
Right.
Trust and verify.
Yeah, trust but verify. Like, that's a rule. You know what I'm saying? And so, I try to take it like I'm talking to my son. Like, hey, man, like, this is what we need to do. So the number one goal, educate and empower. Like, right? And so once I start teaching you, I want you to be able to do this for yourself at some point. And so if I do it that way, obviously, there's value in it. And it's like, all right, man, I just don't want to deal with it. I got the financial resources to use somebody, but I want to give you the education so you can say at some point, hey, man, I retired, man. My wife's going to do this. Or we cool enough. I know this. And you can do the investment, but we can handle everything else. And so just educating them on that and then teaching them and understanding, like, what the accounts are, like, where your money going. Like, you can't move no money unless, you okay it, because I don't want to go on your behalf and be trying. I'm like, I don't want none of that. I want to educate
power
you.
Attorney, don't get the power attorney.
Right. I want to empower you to do this and understand what's going on. If you got a question, we'll talk about it, and you may not even always agree with it. It's our relationship. Like, but at least tell me, like, nah, I ain't trying to do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you want to go,
so I can learn you, we can know each other, right?
And then we'll do that. But it's simple, man. It's really simple. And a lot of people try to make it harder than it is because they'll talk over your head so you feel like you need them. I'm like, man, listen, I come from where you come from. I ain't even, that ain't what I'm on. I want you to know, because at the end of the day, like we were talking about before, it's like either you know the business or you're going to be somebody else's business. And so, you can make your own money or they're going to make money off of you. And, when it come down to it, you start talking about money, it's the difference between being rich and being wealthy. And so, rich, you got a lot of nice things, but wealthy is when your money making money for you.
Right. There you go. So y'all hear that? That's what definition of wealthy, man. Is when your money making money for you. You're rich. You just got a lot of, what they call it?
Depreciating assets a lot of times.
What they call them, baby boy? Bonds and butter, whatever it's called. Yeah, man, you got a lot of depreciating assets, man. You trying to get to that wealthy status, man. You got to get some interest, man. Your money making money for you, man. So, yeah, man, we getting some good education, some good knowledge from a good brother, man, a good responsible brother here. So now, let's transition, right? So now you played league 10 years to go to multiple teams. You know what I mean? You got great benefits. You get the 10 years in, and now football's over.
Right.
Now you're looking in the sky and nobody calling to come play. How are you dealing with that? Like, a lot of athletes have a hard time transitioning. They deal with the mental health, all these type of situations. How did it go for you, and how did you able to deal with it?
Man, I think it come down to foundation. Like, for me, one of the things I did have growing up was, good people. Like, even my parents, God bless both of them who, passed away. But,
both your parents passed?
Yeah.
Oh, man,
like,
sorry to hear that, man.
So, I think having that foundation and challenging me to always be my best, and so, my mom always used to say, don't be me, be better than me. Or don't do as, he said, what you say, don't do as I say and not as I do, right? And so, just always remembering that, and then coaches, and then my godparents. So I always had a good foundation. I had chaplain when I was in school, and so it was always about purpose. And so a lot of times I think in that transition, all we did was chase that chip on our shoulder. Like, hey, man, I want to buy this house,
right?
And you go in college locker rooms now. It's like, hey, man, who think they're gonna make it pro? The majority of the guys gonna raise their hand, right? And so everybody tell you what to do. Nobody really tell you how to do it, though.
Right.
So once you get there, like, what does it really look like? And then, so for a lot of times, like I say, when you playing, that's the easy part. Because, I'm playing, I'm getting a chance to do what I love to do, and they paying me to do it. But once I transition out, like, it ain't too many people that can speak to that transition, because this all I know. You know what I'm saying? And even if you got money, you still got to deal with, hey, man, this all I ever done.
I used to wake up at 6. I go here, I go there. Like you say, even got money. I'm just waking up at 6, and it's like,
yeah, like you need some kind of reason to get up, like a purpose. Because all the way up through that, somebody done gave you a calendar, a schedule, or like you knew in the off season. Yeah, so you always operated that way, and so guys lose that structure, or it just lose the purpose of, like, what else am I good at? And after you reach that level of success, it's hard to go put yourself in a position to say, I got to go start at the bottom and go work my way up in something else. Because, the reality too, people say, like, man, as athletes, people respect us as athletes, but as businessmen, when you go in them work,
They look at us like,
yeah, it's like, well, what have you done? I was like, well, I played football. They don't respect that, and so a lot of times it's hard to go from being a part of the 1% of the 1% and being really good at this, and then going to humble yourself. Like when I first got in this, making 30,000 pre-tax, like, man, that ain't no. I can go do a couple
but
appearances.
You saw the bigger picture,
right? I do a couple appearances and you can get that, but assign a few cards, and so being able to figure out like what it is you want to do after that, like that's the hard part.
Right, that's the hard part.
And making that transition. So for me, I knew like once we got involved with the bank, and then I done some of the other stuff, I knew that was the biggest hurdle for me. Left school, $187 now, $19 million signing bonus, like. That was something that I didn't learn about. Like nobody taught me about. I had to learn it on the fly. I didn't take no classes in school to teach me how to do
try
that.
To figure out who to trust,
and so
to help you.
That's what I wanted to do for a lot of these young guys. I'm like, hey man, like nobody teach us how to do this. You know what I mean? And you got to enjoy it. You got to have fun, because it's too big of a sacrifice to not enjoy it. But then you also want some quality of life when it's over. Like you don't want to have to go selling stuff and downsizing and all of this because you ain't do the right thing, or you ain't have the right people in your corner to at least teach you the right stuff.
Right.
So I just kind of knew that, and then started having kids toward the end of my career. So I tried to time it up that way, but it's just kind of understanding, like, hey man, it's a whole bunch of life. You're gonna be formal or post way longer than you're gonna be athlete.
Right.
So trying to understand that part.
So basically he's saying too, man, to help us with our transitions, from our particular professional sports or whatever we're doing is the foundation, man. We go around running around and hanging out, spending money, partying in the club. Like, this is never going to end.
Right.
So every day you got to be working on yourself. You got to be working on your foundation for your mental. You know what I mean? Because guess what? You ain't got no foundation. You just got party. Guess what? At the end, when it's year 12, year 10, and it's the last game, all this party people is gone.
Yeah.
And your foundation is what you need. That's going to hold you down. They're going to teach you. They're going to talk to you. They're going to help you with therapy. They're going to be there for you if you're crying, you feel depressed. You know what I mean? So that party, you got to understand, I'm a party, but I'm going to understand this is just party. These people don't care nothing about me. I don't care nothing about them. We just here for entertainment and some fun.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna have me a foundation, because I know one day this gonna end, and I got to be all right. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and them circles get smaller, bro. Like the older we get, boy, you get to having to cut people off.
Right.
You stopping some of the party, and they like, man, I was just around the party.
Right. Like, or they didn't even realize it's like, I just want, this is not even fun no more.
Yeah, like, man, I'm gonna go buy sun cream. I know we're gonna probably go out. So,
right.
Like, man, we just chilling tonight, bro. We can throw something on here. They like, man, this ain't no fun.
They
like,
trying to hear that.
You start weeding out those little groups, man, and you start realizing like that foundation in them circles, it's important, especially, after your career.
Right.
And going through like certain stuff like I did, like when I say, within 6 months, I lost both of my parents. You know what I mean? And it don't matter how much money. You
don't mind me asking how?
Yeah, so my dad, he had, right before COVID started, he got diagnosed with throat cancer. And so, with some pre-existing stuff, he already, had his challenges.
Was he a smoker?
Yeah, he was a smoker. I mean, drug, and so, he lived a rough lifestyle. And so with that, I think that didn't help. And then my mom caught COVID. So he passed September of 2020, and then February of 2021, she got COVID. She was a smoker, and so, that, dealing with that, and I'm like, the other part of it is, the reality is, it don't matter how much money you got in them situations, because it ain't no changing. You know what I'm saying? And you get a chance to see who really rock with you in your moments. You know what I'm saying? Like going to the hospital, seeing your folks.
Not to cut you off, but for me, my mama died ALS, and I seen everybody turn their back on me.
Yeah, bro. Like,
it was the worst thing I ever dealt with in my life. Everybody I'm here for, I do all this. It's like everybody was waiting on this opportunity to try to tear me down or to come conquer and divide, man.
Yeah.
It was the worst, but what don't kill you, man, make you stronger.
Yeah, man. You learn a lot, and I think in your situation too, you learn those lessons and you can pass them on. Like, hey man, like like your son, being able to share them moments and tell them like, hey, through the stuff that you had to learn, like that's real success. It's like, hey man, as long as my kids don't have to experience nothing that I did, then, you know, that's a win. And so putting it in perspective.
That's the part of the chip on our shoulder.
Yeah.
Anybody in my family who I'm raising ain't finna go through what I went through, see, or deal with. My kids didn't even know what a corner store was.
Yeah.
They take me to the gas station. I'm like, I don't go to the corner store? What's that?
Right.
Oh, I got to take you to a corner store. You got to see, you got to experience the dang corner store. You keep saying the gas station. The corner store is way cheaper than the gas station. You don't even know.
Yeah, man. So, you know, and it's them, you know, them life lessons that we learn growing up like that, you know, and I think that's the beauty of being able to share it with the kids. And we ain't always going to agree. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's going if we real family, we're going to have some disagreements because we ain't supposed to.
But we're going to come with a resolution and a solution. We ain't going to just be disagreeing and arguing and carrying on. We're going to figure it out.
Right.
You know?
And so that, you know, and that's a part of it too. Like if we real family, we can be honest with each other. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear rather than what you want to hear.
Right.
And so we're going to disagree, but at the end of the day, hey man, look, it is what it is. I got your best interest. And so, you know, I think people got to understand that too.
So who would you say your most influential coach was? From college to pros, who was the most influential?
Oh man, I had a few of them. You know, from Pee Wee League to my baseball coach Bruce Taylor. You know, my baseball coach Stuart Chester, who was my high school coach. We still talk. You know, and it was little lessons. Like he used to make us wash our cleats before games. I'm like, man, we playing baseball. Like, but it was the little things. And then I started thinking when I was in the NFL, man, I straightened my locker up. I had my shirts in my locker. Like it just taught me little lessons.
So we don't got to do that at home.
Right. In high school, you know, Coach Boyd, like, you know, he drove me to my visits. You know what I'm saying? We drive down. So little stuff like that, because I didn't, you know, I didn't have
to gave you advice about you on your visit, because the parents ain't went through this, so they don't know
so
how to
exposing
advise
me
you.
to that. And then, you know, in college, my running back coach, Coach Grant, he was cool. You know, we go to his house on Thursday nights, eat, watch football. And then in the NFL, it was probably, you know, Guy Arrested, so Tony Sperano.
Really?
Just because, man, I
seemed
think
like a pretty good dude.
He just got it, man. You know, Italian guy that, you know, was in the boxing, but he was in the people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, you know, it's like being in the hood. It's like, man, I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care, right? And so when I know would you rock with me, like personally, like I run through a wall for you. And once we got that relationship, and I think that was the thing, like, hey man, like, you know, we have conversations like, man, I believe in you as a player, like. And so you hear that, you're like, man, whatever I need to do. Like, you know what I mean? And so you get them kind of people, like, it make a big difference.
Right.
You know what
That's
I mean?
how I felt for Philly and Andy. It's like, you know, I wasn't the biggest free agent. You know, I had the league trying to badmouth me so, you know, I wouldn't get paid. They called me a gambling corner, this and that. Or Andy Reid took his chance, you know, to give me all this money to bless me with, bless my family with. And not only that, he gave me an extra $1 million because I told him another team was over the bridge coming to sign me. And after I signed that contract, like you say, I was ready to run through a wall.
Right.
I'm ready to show these people everything. I'm not finna let them down. Y'all didn't let me down. Y'all blessed my family. I am finna go through a wall for you. I'm finna make sure practice on point. I'm finna set this season off. And that's how it go, man, you know.
Yeah.
Do right by people, you know. It go good for you, man. So
Yeah.
you know, we tuned in to the art of the interception, man, where we say what needs to be said, man. Got anything else you need to say,
Nah,
Tom?
man, I appreciate it, man. Shout out to you. You know, we were teammates in Philly for that year, and that was a crazy year. But, you know, man, you always been solid. You always been the same, so I appreciate it, man.
I don't plan on changing either, so y'all think y'all going to change me? Y'all want me to change? It ain't happening.
Yeah, so, man, I appreciate you for letting me rock with you for a little bit on your platform.
That was great, man. I hope y'all got some type of educational or a sense of motivation or inspiration from us speaking. Like I say, this brother here, he never was a starter in college, and he was the second pick of the draft. That cannot go unnoticed. We're going to give the brother his flowers for that, because he's probably one in a million, whoever done that. And the art of interception, baby. Salute. We out.